Dennis Lawson, aka Wedge Antilles, could he be returning for episode 9? That is the headline on this week's Force Friday show.
Yes, Stephen, this one is coming in from Cinema Blend, and as you did allude to, it's all about Dennis Lawson potentially coming back to star as the hotshot rebel pilot, obviously Wedge Antilles, and good friend of Luke Skywalker as well. Stephen, this is coming from two sources primarily. First of all, the character that is set to have quite a big role, a meaty role in the next novel coming up, Star Wars Resistance Reborn. He is on the Spanish cover. Now, this, I think, is representing the first real foray into the new canon for the Wedge Antilles character, in terms of being front and centre as a role. So they're taking it from that perhaps this change in tack from Disney may be alluding to the actual actor coming back. And then, secondary as a source is the, obviously, Star Wars podcast, Rebel Force Radio, who claims to have received information from a representative of Dennis Lawson stating that he could indeed be making his way back as the iconic character. What do you make of this? Is this something you want to see, first and foremost? And secondary, do you think this will happen? Because he's been very critical of the role.
Dennis Lawson as an actor is a fantastic actor, John. The character was one of the more memorable extras from the original trilogy. To push him to the forefront is going to take more than a novel. For anyone that doesn't read any Star Wars comics or books or anything like that and just primarily watches the movies, it's going to be a bit... It's going to look quite alarming for such a minor character to be front and centre of one of the last film in the Skywalker saga. Yeah. Dennis Lawson as well was asked the question back in 2015 when The Force Awakens was released that would he consider coming back, and I think I'm paraphrasing, but he found the whole experience of the original trilogy very, very boring. But again, that's probably based on the fact that he didn't have much to do, or maybe about 5 lines per film, if that.
He was replaced midway, wasn't he?
Well, no, Wedge was, there was I think in the title or the credits, the guy in, what's it called? Yavin 4 that speaks in the sort of meeting room before the attack. He was originally Wedge, although it wasn't referred to. I'm sure anyway, if there's anyone out there picks up that I'm picking this up all wrong, just comment below please, but I'm pretty sure that he was labelled as Wedge Antilles. Just on the credits notes as well, I think Dennis was actually spelt wrong as well. I think he's only got one S in his name, but it was spelt with 2 S's. Denise. So I think I don't know, John. I'm not really bothered one way or another. If he was going to come back, it should have probably been in episode 7, for a minor role or something like that. But it just screams of desperation, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, Stephen, look, at the character itself, it did appear in another novel. I thought he did. I'm sure it was the first Aftermath novel. I quickly searched up while she was speaking, and it did indeed appear in one of the Chuck Wendig. I never did get far into the Aftermath novel. The style of writing was strange. It threw me off. Wasn't used to it. So that put me off. I read the first book. I don't know if he made subsequent appearances, but certainly he had a role of sorts. I think he was on one of the planets where the Empire were coming in. So he's been in the new canon, but this one I think they're saying he may have quite the role, a sizable role. He's been pushed front and centre, and it may indeed be an older version of the character. I think in Aftermath that took place roughly quite shortly after the events of the original trilogy. So this may represent the first time we've seen the older Wedge Antilles in the new canon. But Dennis Lawson himself, would he want to come back? I don't think he would, Stephen. As you did say, he spoke about being bored in the original trilogy, which you can understand. If you're not a primary character within that setting, then you'll be sitting around doing nothing for long periods of the day, waiting on your scenes to come.
In that stage in his career as well, John, I think he would say this himself, he was up and coming at the time. He wasn't exactly well known. Obviously, within the McGregor household, he would have been Uncle Dennis. But I think at that stage in his career, he just wasn't where he is now. He's a more established actor now. Without sounding snobbish, I think it would be actually a step backwards for the actor to, go back the way rather than in reprising this role. I mean, so
it depends on how deep your pockets.
Yeah, but I don't think he's
Got
that
the
type
whole
of
thing.
person. I've got to be honest, John. I think he's quite, he picks his roles very carefully. So I can understand why he said what he said back in 2015. But the character I liked for a minor role. He was one of the more likeable ones, and one of the survivors as well.
Yeah.
For all the battles he appeared in, I think he was in Hoth, wasn't he?
He was in the 2 Death Star attacks. He led 2 squadrons, and then he also survived the Battle of Hoth as well. So yeah, 3 of the major battles within the original trilogy, he was a leading player in.
I know they didn't. Obviously,
he
he didn't. He wasn't in the battle over.
Scarif.
Because as we know, I think they would have put him in if they didn't have that line in A New Hope where he says, "Wow, look at the size of that thing."
Yeah, he hadn't seen it for the first. That was the first time he'd seen it.
I think he would have been there in some kind of capacity with the technology. But if he's there, it'll be a nice surprise, John. If he's not, it's not. I'm not going to lose any sleep.
Well, they do say that in the article, Stephen. Finally, that they do have a great penchant, as you know, J.J. Abrams and Lucasfilm Disney, for keeping things like this under wraps. So if we are to see Dennis Lawson, and obviously I was about to say something else here, and obviously Wedge Antilles coming back for this film, it won't be until the movie actually releases that it's confirmed one way or another. I personally would like to see him coming back, even if it is a minor role, just to say, look, he's still here.
Yeah.
But how they would explain that in the actual movie, where he's been for the events of the previous 2 movies, it would be a little bit strange.
Yeah.
It'd feel like they were shoehorning him in. But again, you could say the same for Lando Calrissian and obviously Billy D. Williams, and he's making an appearance. So I suppose they could get round it.
I think.
And you need to remember, they frame these movies from the perspective of this being the be-all and end-all, the battles you're seeing, but there's going to be other splinter groups of the rebellion or the resistance just around the galaxy in general, doing different things, and then they can come back in and have a role in the final movie, and it could be explained very easily where he has been during the events of the previous 2 movies. I'd like to see him come back. I don't think the actor will come back for the reasons that you perfectly explained, Stephen, but it'd be great to see him coming back with Ewan McGregor obviously coming back and reprising Obi-Wan Kenobi again in this TV show. We're getting the Clan McGregor, if you'd like, or Lawson, coming back. So I'd be up for it, but whether it will happen or not, it's not really up to me. It's up to Dennis. But Stephen, Dennis, we shall move. I'm getting thoughts of a feeder saying pet there. We shall move on to the next topic. This one is a little bit more, I wouldn't say speculative. It's actually been confirmed that this is happening in the movie. It's descriptions of the Knights of Ren, and in fact details about the armour, to be more precise, have been revealed. And this is quite a long quote, Stephen, so I will expect you to speak at length after I've said it, because I'll need to drink half that cup of water. Essentially, they're saying the Knights of Ren are Kylo Ren's most deadly and mysterious servants, with their bodies encased in rusty, battered armour, and their faces permanently concealed beneath ominous masks. I'd beg to differ, I don't think they're that ominous, echoing that of the new Supreme Leader himself. Even their species remain a mystery. What is obvious to anyone who witnesses them in action is that their fighting skills and martial prowess are without equal. Each knight is armed with a lethally effective and unique weapon suited to either long range or close quarter combat. So Stephen, what do you make of that description? Does this get your anticipatory juices flowing ever more for the arrival of the mysterious Knights of Ren? I
think like last week when we were talking about the inspiration of Star Wars and where it came from, we're seeing it again here. Japanese warriors. That's what I take from this. I kind of gathered that was a kind of armour as well, like proper knights armour, that kind of protection stuff they wear so they can't get stabbed, the kind of metal mesh stuff. So it makes sense. Also, the word species as well, that was something that intrigued me as well, because we can't assume that they're all going to be humanoids.
No.
I would like to see some kind of species like Bosk in there, perhaps. I don't know if he would be able to fit into that costume or not.
But foot in it.
But I think they're very tall as well. I've noticed from the photographs, the production photographs, John.
Towering over JJ.
Yeah, so I don't know if that'd be hard or not. But certainly some of them tower over, I was about to say Kylo Ren, over Adam Driver as well, and he's a tall dude.
They've got very big boots on.
I think it's good to see these guys finally make an appearance rather than just a flashback that didn't make much sense at the time. I wonder if we're going to actually see that pouring rain scene, if that is going to play into it, John. I hope it does, because it's supposed to be a future echo. That's what I took from it anyway. So it would make sense it would be in there. I'm kind of glad they weren't in The Last Jedi now. I'm kind of glad that J.J. Abrams set this up in the first film, and I'm glad he's the one that's going to be directing these characters.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, I think you're right about the raining scene. I think it will be in the movie. When you look at some of the promotional stuff for The Rise of Skywalker, you have Rey fighting Kylo Ren in the rain. I think it's on the Falcon, and you've got water splashing and stuff like that. I think they will make an appearance. I think that scene will finally be explained what the hell was happening in that Force flashback, flash forward sequence, obviously in Maz Kanata's castle. I think that will be it. I can't wait to see it, because obviously Rey, when she sees them, she gets she's spooked by it, she gets scared. I can't say she gets scared or not, I'm not in her head, but that's the way it seemed to me.
She was freaked out.
She was freaked out by the sight of them. What the hell's going on here, you'd imagine. But Stephen, they look incredible from the photos we've seen, I should say, not photos, that's slang. And the armour looks incredible as well. We've seen behind the scenes concept art of them. We've seen that set scene that you also spoke about with them standing around. Very diminutive J.J. Abrams. He's only 5'7". He's wearing chunky boots, but they are towering over him, as they should. And as you rightly alluded to, it's because they have to be that tall.
It's where he wears his hair that high, isn't it?
Yeah, but they have to be that tall as well, Stephen, just to stand fairly proportionate to Kylo Ren. But the armour again, Stephen, just the breakdown of what they're saying about it being rusted, battered armour, it just speaks about these guys and what they've been through. These are battle-hardened sort of creatures, I want to say, because we don't know if they are human. Yeah. They've seen a lot of action, seen a lot of shit, if you like. There's rumours that they're coming from the uncharted regions of the galaxy. So they're going to be thrust into this movie, I think, front and centre, and they're going to have a sizable role in terms of maybe dishing out some beatings and perhaps eventually coming to a beating of themselves or of their own. Whether that will involve being in that battle I spoke about a few months back with Maz Kanata's pirates, and obviously Finn and Poe, I don't know. But look, the one thing that I picked up, you're right about the species thing, that is very intriguing. And the behind the shot scene with JJ, one thing struck me, it looked as though one perhaps had something interesting going on under the mask. It looked as though they were perhaps an alien species. Yeah. So that was one of the things. The other thing was the martial prowess. So I think that rules out the rumours about Matt Smith potentially being a Knights of Ren, because as we know, he's still not confirmed to be in it or not. Rumours still seem to be clinging on for dear life that he is in this movie. I think we can rule him out of the Knights of Ren. He's not got any martial arts ability. I think this is potentially very interesting for when they do come in though. In fact, they are seasoned, as I did say, fighters, and they've got the wounds and the pot marks on their armour to show for it. And as I do allude to, they're very good with martial arts. They're great fighting techniques and skills. And the fact that they've each got individual and unique weapons is going to be very cool to see it in action. The guy with the big scimitar thing, he is going to be beheading some people. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Simply amazing warriors, I say, and I can't wait.
Made a reference to them, to Kylo in The Force Awakens, didn't he?
He may have
I think he gave him his title, didn't he? I'm pretty sure. I'm paraphrasing it, something like leader of the Knights of Ren or something like that. I can't remember the exact line, John, but it was nice that it was referenced as well, because apart from that flash forward, flashback thing that was going on, there's no reference to them in The Last Jedi at all. No. So you wonder where they've been when Kylo probably needed them the most.
I think out in the uncharted regions. I think they will have some connection to the Emperor coming back in some way.
John.
I think that they've been sent out there to find something. There's no other explanation, Stephen, for them not being there with the leader for the first two movies. They must have been out. Either that, or it's just Rian Johnson couldn't be asked finding a gap for them in this movie, which he says was too frenetic to even fit in a morning scene of about 20 seconds for Luke Skywalker. So if this is what his thoughts were with the grieving of one of the primary characters, synonymous with the whole Star Wars saga, grieving for his friend, then what, he was never going to find a space for the Knights of Ren in the movie. No. And again, I think it's poetic, as you did say, Stephen, with JJ creating these characters, with them having this brief little glimpse in The Force Awakens that he now finishes the arc and brings them in and handles them the way that he envisaged, I can say it. I think he's probably says to Rian Johnson that, look, don't do anything with them, I've got something in my cap or whatever for the final movie. And although I say that, I think Trevorrow was still the director when The Last Jedi was also being filmed, so I may be talking nonsense, but look, it's great to see that they're coming back, and it's great that obviously J.J. Abrams, who created them, has got a hand in bringing them into the actual story finally and shown them in action. But look, Stephen, on that note, we shall move on. And speaking about in action, Dominic Monaghan has finally revealed his curious-looking character in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. He looks as though he's ready for action. What is your thoughts of that photograph, Stephen? Because it looks very Battle of Endor vintage, I think, with that sort of a camouflaged get-up.
The squadron that led the Endor thing, the mission. I think they had ponchos on as well, though, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
I think it's nice to see that we're finally getting something from what the actor's going to be wearing, because we don't actually know too much about the character or what his purpose is in this film. You get an actor like that, though, John, you want to make sure that he's doing something in the film, and I'm pretty sure he will be. I think he's going to be leading some kind of squadron, John, some kind of heist or something like that. I'm not sure. It looks like he's ready for action. It looks quite the leader as well from that photograph. I know
what ahead of her?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking into it probably too much, but I think you're right, John. It's camouflage. We know that there's going to be some kind of forest jungle planet. It's not been confirmed that it is Endor. I've seen some headlines on some clickbait, John, that I didn't click on. A picture of Leia with the backdrop of the kind of jungle forest, and the headline was, we finally know the name of the planet. I don't know if it's been confirmed
back to
or
Endor
not.
to see Wicket.
Yeah. Well, Warwick Davis appears in these films anyway, John.
He
so
does. Is he still alive? What is the age span of the Ewoks? I'm sure we'll get into that in this final topic, Stephen. It's all about
I thought you were
Ewoks.
asking about something else then. But he certainly is. He's alive and kicking. I think it would be interesting to see if they are going to be in it or not, actually, if they are in Endor. So we're kind of going off on a tangent here. But going back to this photograph, John, I actually thought it was the top one that was from Cinema Blend, but apparently not. I don't know what film that's from, actually, to be honest with you. You probably know, John. But
I don't.
I thought it was a boiler suit, but it's not. It's this
we've seen enough boiler suits.
And I think as well, this is when we're getting into that period now, probably just before the main trailer drops. We're going to get the introduction to all these characters now, just like you alluded to there, John, with Matt Smith. Whether or not he's going to be in it or not, we're going to find out soon.
Well, Stephen, what I find striking first and foremost is we actually spoke about a theory, it must have been about 5 months back, maybe more. And how I remember this is beyond me, but it was about General Hux. Obviously, the Domhnall Gleeson, not Dominic Monaghan, the Domhnall Gleeson character, flip-flopping between the First Order and the Resistance, trying to undermine Kylo Ren's supreme leadership, if you like, and that he was sneaking information into the Resistance, and that he was kind of trying to cause issues within the hierarchy of the First Order by leaking information, making him look bad. And what they said in the breakdown of that scene, I don't know what website it was from, but it was perhaps Making Star Wars or something, maybe a little less verifiable, I don't know. But anyway, I digress. It says that the Dominic Monaghan character wore this sort of a get-up, brown trousers, black boots, rebel get-up, and he was part of this platoon, I think, on the jungle planet, or the wooded planet, and that he had a scene with General Hux, perhaps bringing them in hooded. And that's very interesting that we've now got the photograph, and it seems to correlate with what was said in that breakdown of this leaked scene from many, many months back. So that's interesting. Well, if that does play out, and indeed we have got General Hux flip-flopping between the sides, trying to undermine Kylo Ren.
It's funny though, John, because
little bitch.
we are getting to see like the likes of these characters, which are minor at the moment until the film's release, and then we'll find out what capacity they've got. We've still not seen any promotional shots or anything in the trailers of Rose Tico.
Maybe she's not there. Perhaps she was left on Great. Who knows? I don't really care, Stephen, either way. She wasn't my favourite character. I can't lie. Not doing down the great actress Kelly Marie Tran, I think her name was. In fact, saying I think her name was, should speak volumes about me not being a fan of the actress. But she done okay with what she had. It wasn't her fault. It was just a poorly written character, Stephen.
Terrible boiler suit as well.
Terrible boiler suit, which is what I was having a dig at when you says that boiler suit photograph. I think we've had enough boiler suits in Star Wars. Jesus Christ, the Hoth boiler suit, which was iconic on look, and then that god-awful one from The Last Jedi. But Stephen, it's just cool to see Dominic Monaghan finally showing his character off. I think it was for Triple Force Friday last week when they unleashed an onslaught of Rise of Skywalker merchandise
Yeah.
on the world, and this was part of it. It's a very cool outfit. Once again, just underpinning the array of cool outfits we're getting in this movie. The likes of Finn with his cool little Han Solo-esque pinstripe down the trousers. Even Poe's outfit looks pretty damn cool.
It's like Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, yeah. And this one is stepping right in there, and it's meshing beautifully with the very cool outfits. Obviously, the other one, I forget her goddamn name. The one with the helmet, very cool outfit as well, and apparently she has connections with Poe, incidentally. So yeah, cool outfit, great to see Dominic Monaghan. One thing I would say, looking at the article, I hope they're wrong when they say that he is a sort of a linchpin of the first act of the movie. That would perhaps hint that he's dying a death later on in the movie, and we actually spoke previously as well that he was going back to do reshoots with J.J. Abrams, and that he had wrote him a much bigger role for the final act of the movie.
What he did with Poe.
Yeah, what they did with Poe indeed, but it's too late for him to do anything meaty with it. Although they could do a spin-off like they did with Captain Cassian Andor. I think he was a captain. So yeah, great to see the actor. I really like him. He's a great actor, and it's just great to see that we're getting more information about the Rise of Skywalker, Steve, because it's a movie that, despite the division within the fandom, I'm still very much excited for. But look, I'm going to move on to the final topic, Stephen, before I do another Anthony Daniels dive down a gargantuan rabbit hole. And this one is all about Ewoks, as I did mention previously, and why they were replaced.
This is like the bit in the news where they say, and finally,
and we are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
A goofy note.
Yes, why the Ewoks replaced the Wookiees, Stephen, in the Return of the Jedi, and essentially what they say, and I think we kind of knew this anyway, it's been spoken about previously, but I don't know if
The
there's
holiday special haunted George Lucas's dreams.
It haunted his dreams, yes. But what they says was that Lucas, I think, I'll try and paraphrase this in as brief a way as I possibly can before allowing you in to see what your thoughts were on it, Stephen, on the Ewoks and just the idea of them replacing the Wookiees as a whole. He says that essentially he originally envisaged Chewbacca being a more primitive sort of a primate of a Wookiee. The species was more primate and perhaps carnivorous and get up and go than what eventually happened in the original trilogy. And as he started to develop Chewbacca as a character, the idea became essentially getting negated, and then he had to shoehorn in another sort of a primitive cannibalistic race in its place, and that's why we got the Ewoks.
Nah.
So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think he's telling the truth?
I think he's talking
I butchered
rubbish.
the explanation, incidentally.
No, I think he's talking rubbish, John. I think he wanted to sell more toys. That's the bottom line. He needed a new character.
Did they sell a lot of Ewok toys?
I had a few, so I would imagine kids around my age at the time would have had a few as well. They were, he always says he made these films for kids, so it makes sense that he would put something cuddly in there that could sell. So, on the other hand, I would have loved to have seen the Wookiees take Endor away from it and make it Kashyyyk, the setting, and it would have been amazing. I think it would have really gave Chewbacca his place as well in the original trilogy. I felt I kind of get what he is saying. I think Chewbacca has been he's been domesticated in a way, and he
becomes too cuddly, Stephen, too sort of integrated emotional with the original. He's humanised with his conversations with Han. And so he's not primitive anymore.
He's attached. That's basically it.
But he could have done it.
And I think what Lucas is trying to explain is your sort of primal Wookiee is all about instinct and survival. But I don't buy it. I think it was an opportunity to obviously introduce a new species that could sell toys, and they did sell toys.
They did, Stephen. Look, I agree with you about the idea, the notion behind the merchandise, first and foremost. It was just a cash grab, as Lucas did throughout all of the Star Wars movies he had a hand in, and Disney are continuing now. But they could certainly have did it, even though they, as you did say, they domesticated Chewbacca to an extent. They could have showed us a more primal version of the Wookiees on their home planet of Kashyyyk, and have brought Chewbacca in as this contrasting figure, showing what can happen when they're around humanity, if you like. And it could have worked. They could have used the more primal Wookiees. He could have brought them in. Says, look, we're in trouble here. We need to bring this down.
We're taking this to Congress.
Yes.
With thunderous applause. I think he regretted it though, John. I do think he regretted it, and that's why he tried to make amends in episode 3, which wasn't that good. I missed it, as you know. I went to the loo. I thought, can't wait to see this big battle come back. And then I think after the film, we went, where was the battle? And you said that happened when you were in the loo. It was only away 2 minutes. It didn't last that long.
You didn't miss much.
No, I didn't.
It was really disappointing.
And it was very CG heavy as well. Well, the whole film was, to be fair, but there was a Tarzan noise as well. No, was that? I think they did it in episode 3 and episode 6. I think they did it on Endor as well.
But was there not Wookiees swinging across open water? Where were they coming from? I think there was. I'm pretty sure. And then it was. You're right. It was Tarzan. Yeah. But yeah, look. Finally, Stephen, what I would add about the Ewoks, I think they are quite underappreciated in parts. I think they've got this bad rep for being this cuddly little race.
One of them died.
One of them,
Corpsey. He's actually called Corpsey.
Yeah. But you tend to forget, Stephen, that they were hog roast, ready to hog roast Han, Luke, and the heroes in the story. They were little carnivores, little cannibals, vicious little gits. Yeah. And in a sense, and I think they were perhaps made to look more cuddlier than they were, thanks to obviously C-3PO coming in and being this deity-like figure. I think
as well, John, they were quite terrifying as well.
They didn't blink.
They didn't blink in the original films. Obviously, they put the blinking in. And,
obviously, they had a lot of DMT on Endor.
Blu-ray. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely stoned out their nuts.
Yep.
Having bad trips, and that was how they were.
It's all that plant life they're around.
Yeah, exactly. Smoking that's where you get DMT, Stephen, and obviously cannabis and whatnot. So absolutely stoned out their nuts, if you like, and that's why they ultimately were able to defeat the Empire with the help of some of the rebel forces. But look, it's done. I never had an Ewok toy. I've not had much issues with the Ewoks in general. We got that incredible out of sync dancing scene at the end of the Return of the Jedi. That would never have happened if it wasn't for the Ewoks.
We got the Yub Yub song as well.
And we wouldn't have had Warwick Davis, Stephen, and Star Wars, and becoming such a great figure within the Star Wars fandom, chairing many a panel at Star Wars Celebration.
Yes, he's really great.
He's really great, and that's thanks to the Ewoks and him given a role as a young guy. We might not even have had him as an actor.
No.
We wouldn't have had Professor Flitwick and all the other.
Willow.
Yeah. Not Willock, as I said back in the day. Yeah. Not long after I had watched the movie, incidentally. But yes, look, it is what it is. I don't believe him. I think you're right. It's merchandise and all that jazz. And it's horses for courses because it's done. It's 40 years ago, I think, now. So look, we're going to end the show on that note. What did you guys make of the topics we spoke about? Should Dennis Lawson come back as Wedge Antilles? What do you make of the Knights of Ren and their potted armour or whatever the hell it was? What the hell do you make of the Ewoks? Are you buying George Lucas's explanation for why they were written in place of the Wookiees? If you've got anything to say about any of those topics, you can comment below. Let us know what your thoughts were in that comment section down below. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And me and Stephen will both be back on Monday for NBE Movie News.